So, first of all, let me say I think it's an abuse of power and prosecutorial misconduct the way that Mueller is handling this investigation. And it's certainly improper for Schiff to be making the comments that he did. What you have here is a situation that's been inconsistently handled even by the federal government, where the allegations are that the payments made by Cohen on behalf of Trump in some way violated campaign ethics laws. First thing I'm going to mention is you have to take Cohen's plea within the context with which it's given. He is also being prosecuted on tax evasion and other very serious felonies that are completely unrelated to anything having to do with President Trump. And so he's entering into a plea agreement with the federal government where they basically have all the leverage on him. They're telling him what to say, and if he doesn't say it, then he faces even stiffer penalties. So that has to be the context of what he's saying. And I agree with you that there is no finding of guilt there. But basically, if you look at other contexts, so you look at the Obama administration, if you look at, let's say, John Edwards, who directly paid his mistress out of campaign funds and was never criminally prosecuted or was not convicted for that. Here in this situation, you definitely have selective treatment. And I think it's only being focused on President Trump as a way to try to leverage him and his administration, which is improper.
Right. And I think, too, when we're talking about campaign finance law violations, there's a very high threshold for intent when it comes to especially these sort of hush money type payments. To count as an in-kind campaign contribution, you would have to prove that it was only because of the campaign, that it wasn't because, President Trump didn't want his wife to find out. It wasn't because President Trump wanted to protect his reputation and his brand that already existed. It would have to be proved that his intent was only in regard to his presidential campaign. And I'm not sure how one would go about even proving that.
Well, I wouldn't either. And, if the Democrats want to open the Pandora's box on this, how about we go and look at all of the payments that are still being kept secret that were used with taxpayer funds to pay sexual harassment lawsuits for members of Congress that became apparent over the last couple of years, where there was a number of dozens of settlements that were made. We don't know for which members, but which the U.S. Congress settled those cases, paid taxpayer funds. That's certainly a benefit to those elected officials getting reelected. So here, what the Mueller investigation is saying is that anything that Trump would have spent money on that in some way benefited his political campaign would have had to have been reported on the FEC reports. There's no end to that. I mean, maybe you got a haircut. Does that need to go on the report? So it's really the interpretation here. And going back to the John Edwards case and the Obama case, you can see that there's really selective enforcement and ambiguity in terms of what is prohibited and what's not.